Welcome back to the Gift of Gab podcast, season 1, episode 3. I'm your host, Gab, and today I have a very special guest with me. She is born and raised in San Antonio, Texas. She is the owner and founder of Miss Texas Beauty Boutique, a very successful San Antonio boutique. And she is a newly registered nurse for the San Antonio healthcare system with a specialty in neurology. Let's give it up for Noreen Rodriguez, people. Yes, yes. Hello, ma'am. How you doing?
I'm doing good. And I heard you say episode three, and it's just so weird because three is my angel number. I know. I was
Oh,
like,
it was meant to be. I'm telling you, like this show is working out so well. Like I don't not necessarily, like I'm not monetizing or anything yet, but it is like the coming together of it all. The way the guest lineup is, the way like just even getting the studio together.
which looks amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm I don't know, maybe it's just me because it's like a smaller room, but I am so excited to have people. I actually have somebody interested in wanting to come on the show, but it's her and her fiance. So I'm like, how in the hell can I make three guests happen? I'm not saying no. I'm gonna make three guests happen in here.
It has potential. You can do it.
I'm like, we got this. Well, thank you for coming on today, and I'm excited to have you because I've known you, of course, for years, more so as acquaintances,
Hmm.
and then of course turned friends. But I have always felt, even just in the shadows, your story is very unique. So give us a little bit, let's start from the beginning. Tell us a little bit about you, where you started.
Well, we went to high school together. Was I already pregnant in that class? With
The one where we read books.
books? Yeah.
I love that. I love that fucking class.
I
It was Miss Barnett.
Yes, and we
Yeah.
read Angels and Demons.
Uh-huh. And we read Mystic River.
Uh-huh.
There was one more book though we read.
Um,
Was it Of Mice and Men?
I don't remember the third book,
I don't remember the third one.
but I think that was my junior year. Was that your senior year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay, so then,
I took it as a bullshit class.
yeah, I took it because I was like an undercover nerd, and I knew that there was upperclassmen, so I was like, if I take it, no one will know that I took it. Um, so yeah, that was my junior year. So I ended up like showing in that class because
Yes.
I was pregnant my junior year, and then I had her the summer before I came back like a senior with the 3 month old.
That's right. See, I was in Corpus by then. But I remember you. I remember us being in there, and I know like we would look at each other. When I don't know it now. Like I feel we're such kind of like scared, like we're too afraid to step out of our shell or like our cliques a little bit in high school. But I always wanted to be friends with you in high school.
You should have.
I was just a theater geek. Like and like class president, well, not that year. Some guy took it.
Boo. Well, I did get pregnant my junior year. I had just turned 16, and I remember thinking, oh damn, how am I gonna tell my mom because she just bought me a car.
I was just about to say, so how I, of course, would be hella afraid when I was 16 to say anything related to that to my family. How was it telling your mom or telling your family like, hey, I'm pregnant? How did that go?
So I know a lot of people are like, oh, teenage pregnancy, and this is like how naive you are, like as a teenager. So I met Naomi's dad. I was 15, and he was a little bit older than me, and he
Okay.
didn't go to South San. He actually was not even in school. He just worked. He dropped out. But I thought like I thought I was gonna be with him for the rest of my life, and I was like so in love, and he was like my first. I mean, I had like a boyfriend in eighth grade, but it was just like puppy love, you know.
Yeah.
But David was like my first like everything, and so I was like, you know what? I think we should stop taking my birth control. And so
Oh shit.
we had a discussion and I stopped taking my birth control. And 8 months later, I was like, I took a test and I was like, oh my, I started freaking out. But like, I knew it was going to happen. I just didn't know it was going to be when I was in school because I thought like these things take time. Well, it didn't. And then he was freaking out. And I was like, oh, I can't really keep secrets like when they're like life changing. So I think I did, I held out like for 3 days and I
You're
was
like, I'm
just
gonna
like,
sing like a canary.
I was like, I was like, Mom, did you have a good day at work? And, and she was like, why?
Snooze. I just want to make sure you don't hit me.
And I remember like, okay, I just told her, I don't know how to say this, so I'm just gonna say it. And she was just like, what? Are you pregnant? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, what? And I was like, I'm sorry. And then she started crying, and then I started crying, and she's like, you know what? Like, this is not the life that I wanted for you, and it's going to be harder. Everything is still possible, but I'm going to support you through this, and we'll figure it out as a family. And I just started crying because I thought, everybody's like, oh my God, like my mom's going to kill me. And I was like scared, like, what if my mom kills me? But not really, kill me, but get upset. But no, she didn't. And well, like my dad's not really, he's not present in my life.
Mhm.
So when he found out, my mom just gave him the courtesy to let him know. He was like, that's it. I'm filing for statutory rape charges. I'm going, like, you're not having this baby. Like, what's wrong with you? Are you stupid? And like, this is from somebody that's not even like really present. So I
Relative
just,
in your
yeah. And
in
so
your environment.
yeah, so I was just like, okay, that's dumb. And I was just like, you're gonna make my life so much harder with him not being there. So just like let it go. And so, and then, 9 months later, Naomi came and I graduated still at the top 10% of my class, not the top 10, but I still graduated top 10%. I went to UTSA after. Um, and then I have a picture somewhere. I'm in my cap and gown, and she has a little cap and gown, and she's one when I graduated. Yes, and so like now that she's in high school, it was just like so surreal for me going to her open house, and I'm like, you've already been here, but you were in my stomach. And then one of my teachers is like, oh my God, you're so grown up. I'm like, yeah, I'm here with her. And he's like, you're the reason that your mom couldn't go to senior field trip at Fiesta, Texas. And I was like, yeah,
You see it now, just
yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah, I was just like, well, it's interesting. And after I graduated high school, I just, joined the workforce, worked for a credit union. I bought my first house when I was 19. So I was
That
just
is so
working,
awesome.
working, working, working. But I soon found out like I wanted more from life because I was like living paycheck to paycheck. And if it wasn't for my grandma and my mom, like there would be days that I wouldn't eat just because like times were tough and I didn't have child support or any like help like that from her dad because we just kind of like grew our separate ways. Having a baby like changes a relationship and stress and everything. So he was there, but I didn't really get as much help as I like the way I thought my life would have been. It didn't end up like that, but it's okay. Um, so yeah, I just worked, worked, work, and then I said, yeah, like I cannot live my life like this forever. I have to like make a change, and it took me a while. I went to UTSA, but then I ended up dropping out because it was too hard working and having a little one, and I couldn't figure it out at that time. So then I became Kanye, who was a college dropout. And
You that's why you relevate you resonate with him.
yes, I love him. Even though people call him crazy, I still love him.
He my cup of tea, but I'm not trying to say that I don't listen to his music because I do love me some good Kanye.
Yeah.
I like old school
Oh,
Kanye,
yeah. Old Kanye.
like mm,
Jesus Walks. That's my favorite.
Jesus Walks is good. I think because of the I listen to the sounds. I'm very big on like the beat and like the melody of something. So the one that just pulls at my heartstrings a lot is Runaway.
Oh, yeah.
Like, cause I don't
I
know,
relate to that one. I relate to a lot of his songs.
it's something about that song. It just like, oh, it just makes me want to keep going. Like, oh, you're trying to tell me I can't do it? Look at that.
Yeah. Fuck those douchebags though.
Yeah. Yeah. So Did you know when you went to college then, were you going for nursing?
No, I was just in college because I wanted to prove. There was one teacher, I won't say her name, but
No, no, no.
she,
They went to school together.
I
No, no,
know,
no.
she was a white lady. She was, God dang it, the English teacher. I
Tackett
can't,
or Hall.
which one was which? Aha, it was Ha. The other one was more manly. It was the more feminine one.
Ah,
Yeah, she was
Tackett.
just
No, Hall.
I
I
think it
can't
was
recall
Hall.
which one
It
was
was
which,
one of
but it was
them.
one of them.
Yeah, and she wasn't saying it to be mean, but I was in Miss Tackett's class first because I had AP classes,
Uh-huh.
and then I just couldn't keep up with the work, and I was in high school. I was working at a dealership, and I had a baby, and it was just a lot for me. And like AP classes, they were more demanding
Of
than
course, yeah.
regular ones. So I had a conversation with her, and I was just like, I can't keep up. Like the grades I'm getting are not what I want on my transcript. And so she was pretty much like, well, I'm not handing out like what you get in my class is what you get in my class. So then I got out of AP and I went to regular English class, and she was just like, I see a lot of pregnant, like she's seen a lot of pregnant teenagers in her career, and that a lot of them just get a high school diploma. And I remember like that stung. And I was just like, I'm gonna do more than just a high school diploma. I didn't know it was gonna take me this long, but I was just like, I'm gonna get it done. But then, life happens, you work, 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 and then by the time you know it, you're like, shit, I've been out of school for 8 years. Shit, I've been out of school for 10 years. So
Been out of school for 15 years.
I've been out of school for 14, yeah.
Yeah, that
Um,
sounds horrible.
I
It
know,
sounds
isn't it?
fucking horrible. I saw like several people posting on Facebook the other day. Like, hey, people, class of 2009, graduated 15 years ago. I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, like
Nobody needs to know.
good vibes only.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, after I'm trying to think. That was such a long time ago. So after I worked in the credit union, I was like, you know what? I like science. I like math. I've always been good at them. I was like, I think I want to be a pharmacy technician because when I was like younger, I never thought like I could do like a profession. It was just working. And I never thought like, oh, I'm going to be a nurse, a doctor, a lawyer, like any of those big professions. I just always, I never knew what I was going to do. And there's always been like a small part of me that's felt like you're destined to be great. I just never believed it or went after it. And
Mhm.
so I said, you know what, let me be a pharmacy tech. I did that from like 2013 or 14 all the way to 2021. So I have like a good foundation in pharmacy. And I met a nurse when I was working at a infusion center, and I compounded the medications, and she's like, you need to be a nurse. And I was like, ew, I cannot deal with blood and poop. And she's just like, trust me, you need to be a nurse. And I was like, no one's ever taught me that. Like I've never had that implanted in my mind before. So I started looking into classes, and I said, you know what? Yeah, let me do it. So I wanted to quit. Like I want to like hurry up and get things done and reach these goals. So I went to Career Point. I had one more, like not even a semester, it was just like the last block of weeks to finish my program, and I would have been done. And that's when Career Point, we went to school one day and they had chains on the door and they were like, we're closed. And it was, I don't know if you remember, this was a long time ago. And I was like, oh my
I
God.
faintly remember,
Yeah.
and I can't. I faintly remember because around that time I was already in Corpus, but just through social media and talking to people, I recall something like that.
Yeah.
But oh my God, knowing that you were impacted by it,
It was like very, very,
was it like a scam?
I don't know. I like we're it Till this day, we're still in a class action lawsuit. He We didn't get any credits. We didn't like they were non-transferable. And we knew that, but what I will say is that when we signed like all these paperwork to go to that school, our FAFSAs were when we pulled up our stuff, I was charged 3 times for 3 years when I wasn't even there those years. And I had over 120,000 in college debt from Career Point for an LVN. And I was like, oh no. So we had to pretty much sign this paper with the Department of Education, and everything got taken off. And so it's like we were never there. So I had to like really, I was back at square one, and I had just had Gabri. She was like not even one yet. And I was like, what am I going to do now? Like all of this time is literally wasted. All my clinical hours, they're non-existent. What do I do? And so I remember I was having a talk with Gabri's dad. I'll refer to him as Gabriel because then Gabri's dad's too long. So he was just like, whatever you want to do, like just get it done. Time's gonna pass regardless. So I enrolled at Palo Alto College and I did my basics. Um, that I did my basics and then I applied to nursing school, and it took me a while just to get them done because I was still working. And then I was like, you know what, I need to like see the end goal. I only applied to one nursing school because it was the only one that I wanted to go to. No offense to any of the other ones, but I went to UT Health, and it's one of the hardest nursing schools to get into in San Antonio. And I said, if I don't get into nursing school there, then I don't want to be a nurse. Like that was my way of like determining like if it's meant to be for me, then this is how I'll know.
I believe my sister went.
And if I didn't get in there, then I was going to be a pharmacist since I already had all of those. So I had like a backup plan. So I did my courses. It was supposed to be like 2 years, but I did it in a year and a half or something because I like pushed through. Like I was taking classes at multiple schools like to get it done. Wow. Yeah, it was rough, but I got it done. I applied, and I actually had to apply 3 times, and you had to wait 6 months in between. And I didn't apply because I didn't get in. It was like I can't remember now, but it was like something wrong with the admission form. And then the second time was like a transcript issue. And I remember crying. I was just like, I'm so frustrated. Like, here's another 6 months that I have to wait. And then the second one, we had to go like a third party program, and they try to reach out to UTESCA, and they were like, it was our fault. Like, is there any way? And they're like, no, like ours, we close on this day and there's no more applications. And so I had to wait, and I said, all right, this is the third time. If I don't get in, fuck it. I'm gonna go to UIW to become a pharmacist. And well, I got the email when I was at work, and my pharmacist was there, and he was like, hey, hurry up, we're behind. And I'm like, oh my God, I got an email. I was like, Mark, I need you to read it. I can't read it. I can't read it. I'm gonna throw up. And then he was just like, can you take those gloves off? You have chemicals everywhere. And I'm like, oh, I was like, you're right. And I was like, here, grab my phone. And then I was like, did I get in? Did I get in? And he was just like, I think you need to read it. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't get in. And so I sat down, and I read it, and I was like, oh my God, like I got in. And it was just so surreal for me. And then I started crying because I didn't have my grandma at that time anymore. And I just knew that she would have been like yelling at the top of her lungs and like just being probably more happy than me. Right, and so then I started crying. And then Mark was like, what's going on? Did I read it wrong? And I was like, no, I got it. He's like, why are you crying? I was like, because I'm happy. That's why. Tears, Mark. And so he's always been, I always play around. I call him my dad. And then he's like, I'm not your dad. I'm like, yes, you are. You're my dad. So I was like, are you proud of me? So yeah, I worked for the first semester of nursing school at the pharmacy. And I knew right then and there, like, yeah, you cannot work during that program. So I had to rely on the boutique to get me through nursing school. And it did. It did.
So when so you so this so okay, take me on a timeline here. So you finding out you got into law school, nursing school was
2021.
2021. And um career point.
I think that was let's see, 2015 or 2016.
Thanks, career point.
Yeah, F y'all. Yeah, we were on the news and everything, and there was people all like doing the thumbs down, because career point was like this. I was like, wow, that's real original.
Yeah, guys, what else do you got?
Yeah, that's something. But you know what? Everything happens for a reason, and I'm a firm believer in that, even if we don't understand the why at that moment.
Yes. And I'm thinking back because you had the hurdle of career point And that's where I was asking for the timeline because you were in a car accident.
Yeah. Yeah. Was I in school already? Yes. Okay. So let's rewind a little bit. I totally forgot. Look, so after I went back to school, after, career point screwed us over, I was like kind of bitter and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be a high school science teacher. That's where it came in. So I was going to school for that. And then one of my teachers was like, why do you want to be a teacher? They don't even make money. He's like, you're going to be like me, always in debt and broke. And I was like, what? And I was like, look, I'm only used to making like $17 an hour. So to me, if I can just have extra money to, splurge a little on groceries, I'm good. And
That's fine.
he's like, no, you need to want more from life. And then he's like, what do you really want to be? You could be anything, anything. And I was like, I think I would want to be a nurse. And he's like, we're going to the admission center. I'm like, for what? He's like, you're changing right now. And I was like, why? And he's like, because if you want to be a nurse, then you need to be a nurse. And I was like, okay. So I changed it that day. And then that's when I started like those 2 years of the prereqs. I did them in a year and a half. And a lot of my science instructors were very supportive. And when I told them, I'm like, I'm only going to finish this class, but I'm not going to go down with, the road of being a science teacher. And they're like, why? And them being like,
Trying to change it.
yeah. And I was just like, well, I think like my heart is pulled toward this direction. And they're like, do it. Like you have to love what you do. If not, you're going to just hate going to work. And so one of my science teachers, the one that told Naomi, oh, you're the reason, he was saying it with love, but I had reached out to him like, hey, can I shadow like those classes in high school? And then when I did that, I knew like, no, I don't want to be a high school teacher because it's just a weird environment. Like I went to do a teaching course like in front of the students and guys were betting on who could get my number. And I was like, I don't want to be in that type of environment, especially if somebody just says something like they're gonna, like I just didn't want to go down that road and me like being young myself, I just feel like, nah, this isn't for me. Um, they're not gonna take me serious. And I remember like when we were in high school, the guys would make comments about the teachers, and I didn't want to. I didn't want to.
Yes, there's several.
Yeah, I didn't want to be like that teacher that like high school boys were like drilling over or whatever.
I could understand that.
And so,
Oh, well, you know, time and place.
yeah, so I'm like, nah, let me not do that. So,
So then okay, so you changed majors.
mhm.
So that of course I shortly after career point. Going back to when so because I want to say Gabri was
Oh, the car accident. She was 18 months and I was 25. Like Kanye, he got into his car accident when he was 25 and he almost
but
died.
you
I
did
almost
too.
I almost died too. Me and Gabby almost died in that car accident. Yeah. Um, it was in the South Side on Bynum in Southwest Military. I had just picked her up
I know
from
exactly what
from
that's all
yeah,
about.
from daycare. And I had I was on the phone with my grandma and I said, hey, tell Naomi I'm gonna pick up KFC and we're gonna go bowling. And it was just something fun that like it was spontaneous. And my grandma was like, make sure you get mashed potatoes and extra biscuits. And I was like, okay. And so I hung up the phone. I'm at the light getting ready to turn left. There's a truck in front of me, and I'm the second car, and I'm borrowing my grandpa's little Yaris. And the car in front, the truck goes in front of me, and I'm not the first one, so I didn't look. I just followed the second truck, and I just remember hearing like this very loud noise. And Gabby was obsessed with Elmo at this time, so we had like Elmo playing in the background. And I just remember like hearing that noise and being like, in my head was like, you just got hit. And so I was like, okay. And then I just felt the cart spinning and spinning. It felt like forever. And then I felt another hit. And when the everything settles, I'm like, okay, somebody just hit me. And I look back and Gabby's not in her car seat. And I feel like somebody just punched I thought all my teeth had come out. I remember like my head hurting and like I had to like it took me a while to realize like what happened. And then Elmo was still playing in the background. And then I was like, oh God, like Gabri's not in there, and all the windows were gone. And then I can hear people yelling. And it was just like very, very chaotic. So when I opened the door, I realized like where I buckle my seatbelt, that little piece there was
Mm-hmm.
like pushed into like my hip area. So I could not unbuckle my seatbelt. And so I think I like looking back, I was still in shock. And there was a bunch of people because I was the 12th car to get hit, and it was like over a mile long of like accidents. And he was a schizophrenic and he was trying to commit suicide. So I was the last car that he hit, and it's like on video and it was on the news. So I got to actually watch the accident like unfold, and that was also like, dang, I can't believe I survived that. So after these two guys, one was pushing it like pushing out, and the other guy was from the other door like pulling it, and then I
Trying to
just
get you out.
yeah, and I just kept saying like my baby, and they were like looking at each other, and I was just like, oh my God, like I still couldn't figure out like how to find her. And so when I tried to get out of the car, I realized like I can't move my leg. And so I was like, I can't move my leg. Like I can't move my leg. So I just grabbed it and I like threw it out, and it just like dangled, and I crawled to the back seat. I crawled on the floor to open the back passenger door, and I see her like bleeding from her mouth. She's not breathing. Her arm is like twisted, and they always tell you like you never move somebody, but I remembered from when I was in nursing school, like they teach you your ABCs. It's airway, breathing, and circulation, and I just kept saying that out loud, like airway, breathing, circulation, airway, breathing, circulation. And so I kind of pinned her in between, and I flipped her over, and she wasn't breathing. So as soon as I like started to press on her chest, she started yelling, like not yelling, but like crying and gasping.
Mm-hmm.
And so finally, like these people are like, I guess, waving down EMS, and they come and they're like, who do you want us to assess first? I'm like, take my baby. And so then they took her into there, and I could hear her crying. So I felt like relief because I knew she was breathing and she was going to be okay. And then that's when like my pain set in, and I realized like I can't feel my legs. I can't, like I was touching them and I couldn't feel them. And that's when I started like to panic. And so then they got me, and I couldn't walk. So they were like holding me up, and somehow my grandpa got there. I don't even know how. But they had to cut off all my clothes, and I had a lot of bruising all in my abdomen because I was bleeding out internally. And so they took me, and it was funny because the EMS guy was all like, um, her blood pressure's it's low, I think. And I looked at it, and it was 63 over 42. And I just felt like I was ready to take the best nap ever. And then he was like, hey, you need to stay awake. This is my first time I'm gonna do an IV. And I
Oh,
was like, oh God.
like, I'm not sure what that was.
I was like, God, just take me now. When we
Jesus, take the wheel
for
and hit gas
real.
on the.
And that ride to the hospital was so intense. I mean, I was naked. I told my grandpa, look the other way. I was so embarrassed. And then I just remember like feeling like I'm gonna go to sleep. Like, and I had to fight like that sleep of not going to sleep, and that was rough. And so finally I get there, they took me, and they took Gabri. University lost Gabri. I had, thank God, when I was on the trauma table, I heard my friend's voice, and I was like, Renee. And she was like, oh my God, what happened? I'm like, I need you to find Gabri. I'm like, go to my Facebook and get a picture and find her. And then she had to like go and find her, and they ended up putting the same person under the like, we have, you scan the bracelet. So
Mhm.
Gabri and the other little girl in the accident had the same bracelet. So they couldn't identify like who was who. And my grandpa was like, he's hard of hearing, and he was in shock, and he gave them my last, like my name, but my last name to her, even though like me and her have different last names. So she wasn't in the system right. And it was a mess. And we were in separate rooms. And that was like the first time I've had ever been separated from her. And I was still nursing her at that time. So I had no pain medications available. And they were trying to tell me, like, well, you could just pump your milk, and you can take these pain meds so you could be comfortable. And I was like, no, like I can't, like this is the time she needs me the most. And so they put me in a wheelchair, and they wheeled me down like to the pediatric section where she was at in her room. And like when she saw me, she just started crying. And so I was like able to nurse her. because I didn't take any pain meds, but man, it was so painful. Yeah, it sucked. Like for a year I tried to do like therapy, but from L3 all the way down, all my discs were compressed, they were fractured. It was rough. So a year later I ended up having the surgery. They cut me from my stomach down, took out everything, took out my vertebrae, stuffed everything back in, flipped me around, stabilized my spine, put rods and screws in there. I was in a body cast for 3 months and I couldn't do anything. My mom, my grandma, and Gabriel would have to do everything for me, take me a shower, wipe me, clean me after I use the restroom. And me being 26 at that time, it was really embarrassing, especially because like
You're still finding you.
yeah, and then like I have to depend on like Gabriel to clean me and everything. And it was very, very embarrassing, but
Emasculating.
yeah, but he was there and he didn't make faces, or not that I saw. And but now I'm okay. And so that's also like a reason why I picked the specialty that I'm in now, because I deal with a lot of patients that have had similar surgeries to me. So I know exactly what they're going through. And there's some patients where I do share my story when I know that they're really struggling. And I'm like, I promise you, like every day it'll get a little bit better before it gets worse. And it's just like a roller coaster. And I've showed my scar on my back because I don't want to see my stomach. I've showed the scar on my back a few times, and they're like, "Oh my God, like you really do know." I'm like, "Yeah, I do. Like, I promise you. Like, you have to work with therapy. Like, you have to just, it starts in your head first, like knowing like you can do it."
Mm-hmm.
And so they always ask me like, "Well, what happened with you?" I'm like, "Oh, it's a car accident, but I'm okay now. I just can't touch my toes, but I'm okay." And so,
Really?
yeah.
So you do have some like effects that you still have
Mm-hmm.
underlying.
Yeah, like my left leg was the one that took most of the damage. So my left leg sometimes still hurts. But it's just like nerve pain.
Nerve.
Yeah.
Mm. So that whole recovery period, how long would you say total it was to recover from, you
A,
know, everything? I understand
um
still trauma for sure,
yeah, a
but the
good
physical, like how long did it take you?
I like probably a good 2 years. And so I actually had to like miss one semester of like pack because I was having that surgery done.
Mhm.
And when I came back, they took away all my scholarships when I was going to be a science teacher, and
Mm.
everything was paid for. So that was like another
So
reason
that,
why I knew like I'm not going to be a science teacher anymore. Like I'm going to have to pay for school out of pocket. And then that's when, I ended up, that was another factor of me changing like back into nursing. So,
and then going back into nursing, the one thing that, and this is where, we then became close and got to know each other better. You became, you created and founded and started Miss Texas Beauty Boutique.
yeah, in 2020, I started off with eyelashes and lip gloss.
Yes. And
And I
the
had
lip
never even
stamps.
put on a pair of eyelashes before.
I I was there. I would like, I would do a share. I still can't put on eyelashes to save my life, but I was like, oh, I'll do a scrub, I'll do this. And then you started doing more. You
Yeah.
started doing like jewelry, I think. And
Yeah, and
then,
shirts,
uh-huh.
and then that's how it started. Like I never thought like, oh, I'm gonna own a boutique. It was just something small to, just everybody kind of was trying to make ends meet with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And we had extra time on our hands, and then it just took me down a rabbit hole. And thank God for ADHD, because I was like hyper focused on everything at that point, and I was like, I'm gonna do this. This is gonna be fun. And then
You
in
did the damn thing
yeah,
though.
I've been
You had a whole ass boutique. You had a
shop.
cow,
Yeah, I bought a cow. I still have him, Bojangles.
Bojangles. That's
Yes.
right.
Bojangles is bouncing balls and he's a boy. So that's why
I
I named
love
him
it.
Bojangles. Yeah, I even like had the storefront, but I sometimes take on like way too much that I can handle.
Mm.
Um and I like to be ambitious, but sometimes I'm a little too ambitious. And I was my last semester of nursing school, and then with the boutique and homework and working, I didn't have time for it. So, I invested a lot of money into it. And I just had to like be realistic. And I was like, yeah, I don't have like, there's not enough hours in the day for me to be here. But I really did like my storefront, and
It was
I
beautiful.
loved it.
I
So,
loved it. It was for those who may be familiar with it. It was off of South Cross in San Antonio
and 35
and 35. And just imagine cowhide everywhere. Cow
and pink
and
and
pink.
teal and
Yes, because her colors are pink and teal. And I loved it. It was so
it
bougie.
was a vibe.
It was like I loved going in there. And I mean, of course, I could shout till I drop in there.
Yeah, and then Gabriel made me that big old wall with the what is that
Yeah.
called? Um
The
like still like lamina. I don't know what that is in English. Like I don't know, steel or something. I'm not aluminum. I don't know. It's called lamina. So it was like that, and then wooden on the bottom, that pretty little wall.
yes,
Yeah.
I was trying to think. I was like, no, you had I remember the wall that had like the balloons because you did have the balloons there.
Uh-huh.
And then you had like I thought it was like the decor it hung down or something. You
Yeah.
had something.
Yeah.
Either way, it was beautiful in there.
Thank you.
And
Maybe one day I'll be able to start it back up again. We'll see. I don't know.
but even with the storefront or not even having the storefront, your the boutique has always done very well for itself. Like you did amass like a good following behind you.
Yeah, I met a lot of people. I've also got some people that weren't too nice that will the boutique world is like cutthroat, and I was very naive and I didn't know. I went into it just like for fun,
Yeah.
and I had this other boutique owner like befriend me and ask me like where do you get this? Where do you get that? And I'm not a gatekeeper. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'll show you. This is where I get this." Like, I gave her all the information, remember, and she turned everything on me, and like I was just like, "What?"
Yeah, she
Um
did a whole boutique similar to yours
yeah, and
with
then
just like a few little differences.
yeah, and then she was like telling all her people not to support me, and like went on this whole tangent. I was like, all right, whatever. Don't need you. So
There's
there's always,
there's enough for everybody. So when people see, a competition instead of a collaboration, sometimes it really irks me
yeah,
because it's like you want to be a snake, go be a snake.
yeah. And I don't like snakes. I'm terrified of them. I
No, thank you.
can't even look at them in pictures either.
Oh my God, you sound like my sister. That is her. She'd be like if she sees a picture, you can
People
try and put
tag
your
me
phone.
in them. Oh,
Oh,
I also my phone. I'm like, I'm not watching it.
I had it was like one holiday. We were at my other sister's house, and one of my nephews brings down like a map. Like I think he's like a Boy Scout at the time, and it had like snakes on it. And they're like,
Mm-mm.
"Look, be fine." Like she turns.
Yeah, that's me. I cannot do snakes. Ugh.
I love it. But no, going back. So in the boutique though, you were in nursing school
Yeah.
the first time.
Uh-huh. Well, I was technically the first time was when I was at Career Point, but
Oh, yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, but the
But
second time.
remember, you signed a paper. You were never there.
Oh yeah, that's true. So yeah, first time then.
You really.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, you're right then. You're right.
um, uh, but so in that time frame though, that's when you experienced a hardship. You you didn't pass. You didn't pass
One of
your
my
exam,
tests. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So like I said, UT Health, they're really strict and they want to produce like a certain type of nurse and that has like these great scholar abilities and they really pride themselves in academics. So there's some course that we have to take and it comes with this test that if you don't pass that test, you're not going to pass the course unless you have like a 98 or something ridiculous. And I did not have a 98 in that class. I'm just saying that 98, but you had to have like a high A in that class and be able to fail that exam and still
And
pass.
still have the average pass.
Well, I missed it by one question and I knew it put me at a 74.3, needed a 75 to pass the class. and I saw my grade and I cried because I knew what that meant. I knew that I wasn't going to pass, that I needed to retake the course. In order to retake the course, it was going to cost me um, in the thousands to take that one class.
Mm.
And you have to keep in mind, like I had other bills at that time. Me and Gabriel were separated at that time, and um, there was a lot like going on in that time, and I was going through a custody battle, and I was being pulled in a lot of different directions, and that was like the last straw that I needed. Um, and one of my friends, she was in nursing school with me, and she was like, I know that you're going to be a good nurse. Like, I know that you have like the compassion and like, you have the heart to be a nurse. And she's like, I'm going to give you, I think it was like five or $700. And she's like, my husband and me want to like start this off. And then she made I think it was like a GoFundMe, and there was people from everywhere donating and giving me like words of support and encouragement. And I just remember crying that I only had to put $200 out of my own pocket, and I ended up getting an A in that class the second time I took it around. And then I was able to work even more. I was working as a technician, like a nurse's aide kind of in the hospital. So I did that, and I got to, save more money, get caught up on things that I was on behind. It was a really rough time for me. I couldn't, I didn't really eat. I lost a lot of weight because I couldn't eat. I wish I had that problem now, but yeah,
Same, girl. Same.
it was rough. It was really rough, and I know like some of those actions were like there were consequences of my own actions, and so I was just like, I don't have any right to really like be complaining, and I made this bed, now I gotta lay in it type thing. But I knew that if I was gonna hit rock bottom, like I knew that I could only go up from there.
Mhm.
And so I did, and then I graduated the next semester, and I took my NCLEX. And when I saw those four letters that say pass, I just broke down because I was like, man, you don't understand like what I had to do to get here. And I felt like a lot of like childhood traumas that I knew like messed me up like mentally. At that point when I saw pass, like I knew that like I broke that statistic. And
Hey.
I was just like, I didn't even know I could cry that much. Like it was I think back to that, and I was laying on my bed, and I just said like, God, like please like let me pass, because I think I took like 85 questions and the screen went blank, and I'm like, oh, I fucked that up. And I was like, I didn't know how I felt. And I was like, there's no way I fucking passed. Like, there's no way. And I was like, how come it turned off so quick? And I was in there for 3 hours because I literally was reading every word. I'm like, let me make sure I read that right. Okay.
Somebody on the back of the screen. She bullshitting.
Yes.
Turns off the screen on.
Oh man. And so I was so, man, it just was like a big relief, like a weight lifted off my shoulders. And yeah, I passed, and all I'm working, and um I've gained weight because I couldn't buy groceries, not as much as I'd like, because I bought a new fridge and that bitch was expensive, but
I love that you've done so well for yourself. And going back to, yes, when you failed the first time, or that time, um, the one thing I admired in that moment, you were down.
yeah, I
You
was really
were you were
depressed.
depressed. And through through your following you've made with the boutique, your close friends, just anybody who really has gotten to know you, we got to see the here to here, yeah, for people looking here to here, um we got to see your growth, and we got to see your progress. And knowing that you got to hear, and it was just like, like the rug got taken out from under you. It was one question. I have always admired when that happened to you, as depressed as you were, as down as you were, you didn't falter. You literally just, it was as if someone casted a stone and you caught it with your hand, threw it in your fucking backpack, and you're like, all right, what next?
Yeah.
Like you really you had a sale. You got rid of inventory. You were like, hey, I'm gonna make my I'm gonna make my tuition happen.
Yeah.
I remember the GoFundMe. I remember it taking off really well for you. And I also remember being on all of the lives because I was like, hell, I didn't even have money, but I was all, I'm gonna buy some shit. Because it was just one of those things. It's like, no, regardless, like I think all of us wanted to come together because we saw so much potential in you and seeing that you saw it too in yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I think we all saw, like, no, it was one question, but you know what? It's going to be you get 20 questions right more the next time. Like,
Yeah.
you had such determination and drive in you.
I remember that day that I went home. I cried and cried, and I literally cried myself to sleep. I took a nap. I woke up and I was like, okay, quit your fucking crying, and what are we gonna do? Like, I need to get my shit together. Like, I can't allow everything that's going on in my life right now that's temporary to make like these long lasting effects. Because I have two girls looking like at me, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I told them, I'm like, I'm gonna get McDonald's. We're gonna go to my school, and y'all can watch movies, and I'm gonna study. And I told them like I might not be able to finish nursing school if I don't get it together. And I was just like, in life, like, you're gonna be handed things, and you never know what's gonna happen unless you make something of yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
so I remember I have a Facebook post, and after I cried, I took them with me to school, and they, were in one of the study rooms, and I was
Mm-hmm.
just
The
studying.
picture of them.
Yes, and they were doing that, and I it comes up on my memories, and every time I see it, I'm like, man, I'm really glad that I could have just been like, you know what, fuck it. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. But I was like, yeah, no, I can't, because when you have kids and they're looking at you, I want them to do better than me,
Mm-hmm.
in life. And so I'm really hard on them when it comes to school. Gabby, she still doesn't care about grades, but
She is such a wild flower. I love her. Her spunk, her charisma.
I
She
always say
got
it's
that
the I,
riz.
I tell her it's the car accident that did that to you. Like, it's just something in there.
She 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 is probably one of the dopest kids I have ever met.
I'm
I
not gonna
love
I'm not
her.
gonna tell her that.
I think it's because she's a namesake, because we're
Yeah,
both Gabrielas.
yeah.
So I'm just like, I love her even more.
Yes, and my Naomi, she's a sophomore, but she's enrolled at UT Austin taking like college classes, so she's a Longhorn.
Oh,
And so I see a lot of me in her. And so
naturally.
I'm like, you better do good. She's like, Mom, you're stressing me out. I'm like, good.
Oh, I swear, she's 16.
She's 15, yeah.
15. 15, and Mom, you're stressing me out.
Mhm.
I have 6.5-year-old. Mom, you're frustrating me. Excuse
Well,
me.
Gabby tells me you're making me anxious. You give me anxiety.
Oh, I just learned that. I was like, I'm overstimulated right now. You're getting to me. Anxiety. She's like,
Yeah.
Mom, you're just doing the most. Oh, girl.
Yeah. I
I will
always tell
use your full
Gabby.
name on
Yeah, I always tell her you're stressing me out. She goes, "Well, that sucks. I don't have stress because I am the stress." I'm like, "Yes, you
Case
are."
in point. Case in point. She is a firecracker. I love that
And
about
I
her.
really honestly, like, people are like, you need to like get her in line, or she's too much. And I see that fire in her, and I just know like she's gonna do something, and I don't want to put
Uh-huh.
that fire out. Like, you get that fire and you put it to work. Like, I don't know what you're gonna be or what you're gonna do, but hopefully it either she's going to be in prison or she's going to be a CEO of some big company.
Nah,
So
knowing that girl, it's a CEO, and she's not going to be afraid to speak to men
oh yeah,
who,
good.
no, I definitely see that with her. She's going to be like, no, I don't need a rich man. I am the rich man.
Yeah,
Like, that's
and
Gabby.
that's Naomi too, because she wants to be a neurosurgeon. So she's like, everything brain. And she says, it's because I want you to work under me, mom. And I'm like, okay.
She wants to show you that she can do it.
Yeah, she wants to boss me around. Like, that's fine. I'll go work for you.
Of course. I
I'll
love
take
that
care of your
for them.
patients.
I love that your story, it's you blossomed, but you blossomed and so did the girls.
Yeah.
Like you have been able to create such a great life and now you have a good balance and all is right in the world.
Yeah, and I only work 3 days out of the week, and I love it. So,
I love hearing, where you said you were losing weight to because you had to budget groceries to now you can't buy enough groceries to fit your bomb ass fridge.
I really do love my fridge.
Like seeing your snaps and seeing your things where you're
Stay off
redecorating and
TikTok, man.
oh my God, don't. Mine was Instagram and looking at the way different people would do things. And it's just scrolling and then getting on Etsy, getting on Pinterest. And this whole vision was the whole like pretty much this year in the making. But I knew I was like, this from this website, this from this
Yep.
website. Like it was so pieced.
Yeah, and
I
then
get it so well.
yeah, it's dangerous. So like me and Gabriel are finally gonna get married December of next year, December
Ooh,
6th. And well, we've been together since 2014. So I'm like, you know what, it's a long time coming. I think I can trust you now. I could I did you've stuck around with me through the trenches. So
yeah,
yeah, I was like, where you're stuck with me for life
you're
now.
done. You ain't going nowhere. It's your ball and chain.
Yeah, I'm really no, am I don't know. He puts up with me. So
I think y'all put up with each other because I think everybody has antics. I don't like to say, happy wife, happy life. It is definitely happy spouse, happy house.
I like that. I never heard it. Don't tell Gabriel though. I like happy wife, happy
Oh, I'm all
life.
about happy wife, happy life. I ain't even a wife. I ain't any of it. However, I'm like, if I had the opportunity, yeah, happy wife. I mean, yes, yes, honey, I want you to be happy too. Sure, ish, maybe.
I know.
Oh,
He told me you could do whatever with the wedding. I don't care. Just tell me what to wear and what time to show up. So I'm like, good.
you
So
gonna do bridesmaids and all of that?
yeah, I just haven't like got all the details out yet. We already have the venue. I already bought my dress, so I gotta just make sure I could still fit in it next year. But yeah, I mean, I already have the theme that I'm going with, so it's just like saving everything and then slowly buying it so it's not too much at one time.
Oh, you
Yeah.
got this. I like how you said it the other day when we were talking. You're like, oh, a new bed. Oh, that's 8 hours. That's an overnight shift.
Yeah.
Oh, a TV. It's 2 days on call. I love how you're equivalent
Yeah.
redecorating or buying something to how much time it's
I'm
going to
like,
cost
okay,
you
I
at work.
want a dishwasher next, so I'll work 2 shifts and I'll get it. Yeah.
Being able to know you came from the
From government cheese to steak. Yeah.
yes, bitch. Nobody ever understands when I say government cheese.
Yeah, I was on food stamps. And man, it helped me and get through it, but those programs aren't meant to just stay on them forever. And I did not want to be one of those people that stay on them forever. So, and
I
then I
get that.
remember Gabby would be like, Mom, do you have food stamps? I'm like, no, shut up,
Come on, you got them stampies? Them stampies though.
And I wish I could buy them though, because
Where are they at? Where are people at?
for
Because
real,
I make too much.
yeah, me too. So I'm like,
Even when I didn't have a job, even when I, was going through all my hard times, I still made too much.
that's crazy,
I'm like,
right?
you know what? That's fine. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I had a lot of ramen and fideo and
Cereal.
pastas and well, sometimes I didn't have milk, so yeah, dry
Good Lord.
cereal. Yeah, but yeah, no, I made it through, and now I'm better. I'm better now.
I am happy to see you where you are at. You have done a very phenomenal job. And It's only, again, like you said, it's only here. It's only up from here.
Yeah.
You are getting married. You're gonna redo your home. Are you planning on doing any more like continuing education within like your neurology? Like,
Yeah, yeah. So I actually am in this like young nurse leadership program, and I graduate from that program in December. And then after that I can apply to a leadership position. And then eventually I want to do my national certificate for neurology. You have to have like so many hours of practice, and then you can sit at this like this test. You get extra letters behind your name. It's like a big deal. The test is like $600 to take it. But my job will pay for it and the trainings and everything like that. So I do want to do that. And then at some point later on down the road, I would like to go back to get my NP, so nurse practitioner. So you'll have a PhD in nursing. Um, and I really want to do that just to prove to myself like that I can, you know?
of course. And you know,
So
you can. You're a phenomenal woman.
that's my, I don't know, maybe my 5 to 8 year plan from now. But
I think it's a pretty solid plan.
so we'll see. We'll see where it goes.
What advice would you give to the next 20, 30-year old still writing their story?
Just don't quit. Just don't quit. Like, just figure out a way to make it through, because what I've noticed, it's so easy to come up with excuses like, oh, I
Mhm.
can't do this because this. Like, then you don't want it enough. You have to figure out what your plan is and be like, okay, how am I gonna do this? Like, you, and I've said it before, like, your life is what you make it. You have to make sacrifices. If you're not willing to, make those sacrifices, I would run off of like 3 hours of sleep. I would stay up when the girls were asleep. I'd get up like at 3 or 4 in the morning and do homework and study for tests before I had to wake them up. I just like literally lived, like breathe school to get it done. So you have to make those sacrifices, and they're temporary. And if it was easy, everybody would do it. So
Ain't that the truth?
mhm.
And I mean, I too, I've given my fair share of excuses for things before, but yes, it is definitely up to you to just make it happen. You
And
know, realize that you are your biggest limit.
yeah, and that's true. And I think like another thing is when you're like in depression, it's so hard for you to like pull yourself out of it.
Mhm.
And I think that was like my biggest hurdle was like trying to get out of that. And everybody always says like, oh, you're so happy, or you always make everybody laugh. And I think deep down it does like healing for me, like to see other people laugh.
Mhm.
And I think that's why I'm like such a clown sometimes. Or I just say off the wall things to get like reactions out of people just because I think it's funny. And like everybody at my work, like they're like, oh, it's we love working when they see me there in the thing. I'm like, I know, you're lucky to have me here. So I'm like, yeah, I take let me give you my cash app. You can send me some tips. But no, I
If
really
you're
do love
gonna,
the
I
people.
accept Dutch Bros.
Right? Yeah, no, I do. I think that's like really like you are your biggest like
Limit.
blockage, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say is something that aside from hmm, how would I how would I word this? What would you say is the one thing you've taken from any of your hurdles? What is the one takeaway that you feel has stuck with you?
Um, hmm.
We know to, you know, one knows to keep going.
Yeah.
For you in high school, it was Miss Tackett or Miss Hall. What was one thing from your other journeys that you took with you?
Honestly, I think it was just like always wanting to heal like that little girl inside of me. Like just to like be there for her, you know?
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I really appreciated you coming on today, by the way. I know it's not easy sharing your story, and you again have a really, I feel, impactful story. And it's only helpful for those still learning their path, still trying to find that fresh, fresh perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, um, life is not fair. You definitely get, hands of that you're not, it's not fair. Um, I think too, being like a teen mom, I I'm not like trying to say like, oh, I'm a teen mom because XYZ happened to me, because obviously I know how I got pregnant, but um when I was, like from 5 to 10, I got molested by a family member. And then when I was 11, I had got raped over like a year of time, like a period. And I think that really, I didn't like value myself, and I just disassociated a lot with myself. And so the first time I felt like somebody like give me love that was like wanted, it made me, it like, I think it was like a domino effect of into my life and life choices. But I think like when you were asking like what was it, I think it was just really trying to heal like that little girl that needed somebody. And so I've always like looked back like, did I make her happy? Like, is she happy with who I am today? And I think that's where a lot of my life now has to do with, if that makes sense.
It does make complete and total sense. And I can let you know right now that girl is very happy.
Yeah.
You definitely did well for yourself. And yes, younger Noreen would be very proud of where she got, in time. Uh, as a bystander, as a friend looking in, you should be very, very proud.
Yes. Yeah, I am. I'm proud of myself. And like, I think that was one thing is like, I've always just expected more. And like, now I'm finally in a point in my life where I'm happy with what my outcome is right now. Like, I'm pretty content right now.
That's good. And like you said, you already have your next plan for the next 5+ years.
Yeah.
So from there, it's just progressing more and only healing and growing in your own journey.
Yep. Yep. You're right.
I'm
So
so proud. I can't wait to see it all,
I know
unfold for you.
it's gonna be interesting. So we'll see what curveballs life throws at me, but I'm not really worried.
So far, you've done a pretty good job of not letting any of them, impact your home runs.
Yep. I'm not really good at sports, but yeah.
Neither am I, but I was like, you know what? Like that one, you've you've gotten up to bat. You've, you know, striked out several times, but no, this is your home run, ma'am.
Yeah. I'm
Dang.
gonna slide into, what is it, third base?
Slide into home.
Home, slide into home.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I knew
you
that.
run really fast. You run fast as fuck on third base, and then you slide into home, and then
That's
the umpire goes, "Sir."
that's me, yeah. Yeah.
For anybody choosing to want to come onto the show, if you are interested in wanting to hear, a different topic, if there's something that, it you really just want to hear, feel free to reach out to us. You can now reach us at thegiftofgabsa@gmail.com. Noreen is also able to be followed on the boutique handles. So everything will be listed after the video. Tune in every Tuesday for a new episode, now discoverable and streamable on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and other major streaming services. Miss Noreen, it was wonderful having you. I look forward to having you back in future episodes. Keep going, man. Keep growing and glowing.
Well, thank you for having me. It was fun.
Yes.
So we'll see where life takes us.
Yes, ma'am. We'll catch y'all soon. Bye.